Good morning. The first unity principle tells us there is only one presence and one power in the universe, and that is God the Omnipotent. We here at Unity honor the many names of and the many paths to God. Will you please stand and open with our invocation by if we call down to Charles Gilmore. We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. And our Lord's Prayer, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Will you please open your hymnals to page 58. In Christ there is no east or west. Page 58. shackles and relax. Relax completely. This is your time of prayer and meditation, a time when you can give your ego a rest and experience your total oneness with God. This is your time to let go and let God, so that you can more quickly return to this state throughout your day. It is in this holy moment of prayer that we come into the realization of God's perfect life. May we now become fully aware of our true spiritual identity as a child of God and all that is possible. May we be aware of the wisdom we are heir to. May we now have our human minds empowered so that we can comprehend the incomprehensible. May we understand who we really are and our inner divinity, which is just waiting to express in our daily lives. We rest our minds, our hearts, our bodies, and indeed all of the circumstances in our lives in that perfect oneness, the wonderful presence of God. We now recommit our bodies, minds, and souls to God. Rest in the silence of prayer. Breathe in, breathe out. Let all thoughts, emotions go. Just be here now and feel the great sense of God's omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. In this moment of prayer, we are acutely aware of the divine presence in us, around us, and in every person. We are aware of God's power guiding us, healing us, and surrounding us. We release any worries, any fatigue, and any negative thinking, and we accept the renewing of God's energy within us. We feel renewed, refreshed, and released from worries. Thank you, dear God, for your blessings and wisdom expressing through us now, and for the joy of knowing that you are here within us and everywhere. Rest now in the silence of prayer. Thank you, dear God, for the wisdom of knowing that I need only lift up all the cares of my life into the light of your presence and release them there. I let go and let God. I find all needed adjustments. Please help me to see things differently so that I will realize that everything is in divine order. Dear God, I give over to you any need of healing in my mind or body. I give over to you any need for peace, any desire for success, and I let the joy of fulfillment pour through me and out into the world of expression. Rest in the silence of prayer. Feel the joy. Feel the love. Feel the deep inner satisfaction that comes from knowing that life itself is adequate to supply all our needs and fulfill all our dreams, because our lives are each connected to God and each other. Thank you, dear God, for your ever-present help in my life and the lives of my loved ones. Rest in the silence of prayer. I pray now for my loved ones and friends. I ask you, dear God, to watch over them. May they become aware of your presence. Strengthen and renew their bodies with health. Renew and energize their motivation to do the right thing all the time. Bless their lives with divine ideas and lasting abundance. Thank you, dear God, for again answering my every prayer in the most profound way. Thank you for giving me the strength and wisdom that I need to express you in my every word and action. What a beautiful world it is, and how grateful I am. Amen. Will you please stand and sing hymn 212? Read 212.
Good morning. How are we doing today? Amen. Amen. I like that. Amen. All right. You know, this has been one of the most complicated talks that I've ever done. I am so grateful for this opportunity. This is there's so much to encompass when you talk about Black History Month. You know, I mean, this is a beautiful chapter in American history. But as a speaker, when you're thinking about it, it's like, I'm just talking to Spirit. I'm like, well, Spirit, how do I, how do I even cover it? What do I really talk about? And so then I put together a talk. And so then, when I look at it, I'm like, well, nah, and then I just kind of, then just, and then I put together another talk. And then I thought, after I go, nah, and then, yes, I put together another talk. And so, and that still didn't do. So finally I said, something, I give up. I relinquish to Spirit. Holy Spirit, hey, you come up here and speak for me anyway. But other times I just have like a talk, like basically a skeleton outline. There's no outline today. Okay? All right, so it's just winging it with Holy Spirit today. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to say what Black History Month means for me, but I'm also going to attempt to accommodate a diverse set of viewpoints as far as what Black history means or Black History Month means for them as well. Okay, for our other brothers and sisters that are in our family. So, as a teacher, as a minister, I'm always trying to find new ways to emphasize a point of bringing about a self-appreciation in my people. That's what my ministry is about. Basically, increasing the self-appreciation that we can have in ourselves. Also, my ministry is united ministry. Okay, so I believe in uniting, and not having any type of divisive, not really basically covering divisive topics and things like that. At least it's not from the standpoint of what the world is talking about. My ministry is about talking about what Spirit's talking about as I see it, what Jesus was talking about as I read it, and things like that. So the way I look at it is if I'm going to be a follower of Jesus, follower of the way, then I'm not going to say one thing and then live another way. Does that make any sense? Okay. All right. So, I'm just like, man, okay, so there's a lot of things, because it's a beautiful story, but at the same time, it's a complex one, because on one hand, we've overcome a lot. We've come a long way. We've come a long way in this country. When I say we have come a long way. The energy has risen. Everything is energy. We live and swim in a field of energy, and that energy has risen. And it wasn't an easy thing as far as that energy to rise. There were many demonstrations that had to take place for that energy to rise. And in some of these demonstrations, in any demonstration, you have willing participants in those demonstrations, and then you have people that are experiencing wake-up calls in those demonstrations. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. But what it really means for me is hope. Because it's really our story. The story of our African Americans in this country is our story also. First of all, it can't be, there's no separate type of thing. Okay, there's no separate type of thing. And number two, and maybe nobody ever told you this, but there really is no such thing as a bunch of races. Okay? There's one people. There's really one people. Now, the information's out there, scientific, genetics, and spirituality does not support the idea of a bunch of different races and stuff like that. Okay, it does not. This talk is not about that, but I still have to touch on it because there is something underlying that wants to keep us and drive us apart. Something in our consciousness that wants to keep us and drive us apart. Because I want to touch that too. Because Black History Month was about a lot of struggle. A lot of diversity and struggle as far as with that weaving and coming together and things like that. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. This is a beautiful family that I'm a part of. I'm so privileged to be a part of it. But it wasn't easy. We know it wasn't easy. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Have we come a long way? Absolutely. Do we still have some ways to go? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I say all that to say, to as far as get back to what Black History Month means for me. It means a lot of different things for me, but I came across a sentence, a quote, that really kind of sums things up for me. And I heard another one of my colleagues talk. She graduated last year from Worldwide Ministries. And as soon as I heard it, I called up and said, I'm using that. I'm stealing that, is what I actually said. And she said, be my guest. Principle is not bound by precedent. I want you to think about that. Principle is not bound by precedent. Let that sink in. Let that sink into your consciousness. Because you are principle. A part of you is principle. That was Howard Schroeder, that made that quote. And he was like the Charles Fillmore of CSL. But to me, that really fit this talk. Because in Black History Month, we have our African Americans and the precedent that they were in. But principle will not be denied. Principle cannot be stopped. Principle is the God in you and the God in me and the God in all of our brothers and sisters. that can overcome in spite of whatever circumstances we find ourselves. That's what Black History Month means for me. That's what it means for me. That sums it up as best as it possibly can, given the complexity and the nature and things like that, and some of the pain and some of the horrors that our brothers and sisters have had to face. Because we have to look at everything, everything. It's about diversity, it's about inclusion, but at the same time, we can't just ignore the fact that there was also some pain involved also. We can't sweep that under the rug. This is about learning and growing. And if any of us are uncomfortable about that, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That is a blessing, because that means now we're on the precipice of growth. Anytime we're uncomfortable, like I'm uncomfortable here not having a talk to pull from, I'm on the precipice of growth. I recognize that. I'm going forward with it. The only time I'm going here, I need to read a quote. That's it. So we want to take a look at everything in celebration of what Black History Month means. It means overcoming. It means facing and healing from our pains of the past, so that we can now experience the now and create a better world for all of us, for our brothers and sisters, as well as the generations to come. And Black History Month, that's what they did. Because as however you think things are now, we can tell you something, the energy was a lot lower as far as, 300 years ago, 200 years ago, 100 years ago. It's constantly raising. It's constantly going up. It's constantly getting better. And yeah, sometimes some of that raising, sometimes those growth opportunities are difficult. Sometimes they're hard. I'm sure you can identify. We're all growing, but you know something? Sometimes the things that we experience are difficult. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's rough. Sometimes like, oh my God, not something else. Oh, that's part of the human condition. It is what it is. So Black History Month, we can actually look at that as like how the greatness that lives in us. Because there were some phenomenal things accomplished and are still being accomplished, in spite of even physical ideas that they were not enough. Okay, physical ideas. When I say physical ideas, I mean, for example, segregated water fountains and bathrooms and things like that. They had to deal with the physical ideas. We still have the ideas, so we can definitely identify, but we didn't have the physical, manifestations, the physical things like, hey, you are not enough. We don't have to deal with that. And in spite of that, phenomenal things. Phenomenal things. We're constantly being called to shatter socially constructed ideas, social constructs. Our brothers and sisters, our African American brothers and sisters had to do the same. The socially constructed constructs that they had to shatter were ideas that they couldn't do this, or they couldn't do that, or they weren't intelligent enough to do this, or weren't intelligent enough to do that. Same things that we have to deal with, but it was just more in your face back then. And one thing after another, they overcame, just like we can. Well, this is a cause for celebration, definitely a cause for celebration. Realizing the greatness, the wonder, the magnificence that lives in us. That's right, that's you. Principle is not bound by precedence. That's you. That's me. Do you realize how powerful you are? You can do anything. Maybe you're tired of hearing that because you don't really recognize what that really means. And I will do the best I can, using this platform to show you, as far as teaching classes and things like that, to show you what you can do while I'm here doing my internship. But you can do anything. You can do anything. Principle is not bound by precedence. And we're going to do some things. As a matter of fact, during this talk, we're going to do some things. We're going to do some healing things for this world, as a matter of fact. But I'm not going to get to that right now. I'm still going to talk about Black History Month a little bit. And so, there's a lot of things that I could cover. There's a lot of things that I like to pull back the veil on things. If you've seen any of my talks, I like to pull back the veils. I believe that the path to healing is to discuss what is at the root of it, okay? The root of what our brothers and sisters had to deal with was not racism. It was not, okay? The root of what they had to deal with was the fact that we have, human beings have what is called separation consciousness. Separation consciousness, okay? So if you don't know what it is, I'm bringing awareness to it. This is why I talk about self-appreciation. This is why I talk about know thyself. This is why I talk about learn about who you are and things like that, because we all are a part of this field of energy, and we are all basically projecting what is within our own mind. And if we're not seeing ourselves as wholly beautiful, then how that works is the mind doesn't see a wholly beautiful world either. Okay? And so then the mind begins to look for, because it tries to reconcile with itself. Okay? This is in psychology. So then the mind attempts to look for external reasons for its discontent. Because it doesn't want to go within and learn about itself and heal it, and change its perceptions about itself and gain an appreciation. It doesn't want to do that. That's the more difficult way. At least that's how it perceives it. It wants to look at the external. And it finds symbols for things that are already in its mind. So let me tell you something. Even if everybody was the same color, let's just say everybody was the same color. Okay? Everybody, same color. I don't know what that would look like, but let's just say everybody was the same color. We would still find something with separation consciousness. So racism was not the roots of it. Okay? That was a symptom. That was a symptom. Okay? That was a symptom. So, it's important to look at that. Because in order to heal it, we've got to know what's actually at the cause of it. Because now there's new things that are coming into our socially constructed world. Okay, new reasons to separate ourselves now, and we're going to get to that because you know something. I believe that we can basically invoke unity principle number 5 and act on it right here, right here. There's so many things that we can actually learn from some of the individuals. Do we have any have any of my ladies, do you have any lady entrepreneurs or anything like that? Well, just any entrepreneurs in here? Any entrepreneurs? I'm an entrepreneur. Any entrepreneurs? Okay. All right. Okay. That's right. My cousin over there, I knew she had to raise her hand because she's definitely an entrepreneur. Madam C.J. Walker. I want to talk about a couple of people. Madam C.J. Walker. And the other lady, Andy Moore or something like that. Don't forgive me. But now I'm going to go here so I can get her name. Because I just found out about her. But anyhow, they were self-made millionaires in 1914. They became self-made millionaires 1914. You know something? That's a big deal today. Okay? Because you know something, even today, even though $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to, hey, it's still a whole lot of money. You know? So that's a huge deal. So there's just phenomenal people. And then, the only difference is their belief system. That's the only difference. They could have bought into the socially constructed ideas that were impressing them at the time. But principle is not bound by precedent. Again, they could have bought into those things and lived there. And basically, first of all, it was like a double negative, number one. Because, there was women and black women. Oh my God, millionaires in 1914. Are you serious? Everybody should get inspired. Because the socially constructed idea was they were supposed to be home with families or whatever, And that, really, they weren't supposed to be able to do it based on the color of their skin. So it was like a double negative. And they overcame that. Principle is not bound by precedent, no matter what the situation. It was a wonderful demonstration, and that's what demonstrations are for. That's what Jesus did. Jesus did demonstrations to shatter the thought paradigm that was prevailing in his day. That's what he did. He created demonstrations to change perceptions. I don't know if we have any Course in Miracle people in here, but Course in Miracles defines a miracle as a change in perception. And so demonstrations, the purpose of demonstrations, they have remedial effects. And their purpose is to create mass shifts in the perception. That's what the miracles were for. That's what our beloved African Americans were able to do in spite of all of their symbols of oppression. One of the prevailing ideas, one of the socially constructed ideas back in the early 1940s were that African Americans were not sophisticated enough or intelligent enough to operate the sophisticated controls of aircraft, fighter planes, bombers, and things like that. Well, the 332nd Squadron, known as the Red Tails, definitely was a demonstration that shattered that perception, shattered it, obliterated it. At the time, the U.S. government, before they began to be assigned as fighter escort or bomber escorts, U.S. government was losing 12 bombers a day. Now, those B-17 bombers, they hold 8 to 10 men. So you see how many men they were losing each day? After they were assigned to escort, they dramatically cut the losses. As a matter of fact, they only had 5 missions where they lost bombers out of the 205 missions that were flown. As a matter of fact, they renamed them, and they didn't rename them. The bomber men that were going home to the families at that point, they renamed them the Red Tail Angels because they felt safe up there. But they completely shattered that. Just like those 2 powerful women completely shattered the ideas that women aren't supposed to be home and cooking, making babies, or whatever the prevailing consciousness was at that time. So stand up and be celebratory. Celebrate this. Black History Month. This is a beautiful time as we realize how powerful we are as a people and what we can accomplish as a people. This is beautiful. One of my aims in delivering this talk was I wanted people when they leave here to be able to see Black History Month in a different way. I didn't know how I was going to do that. That was just my order, like, going through a drive-through when you have McDonald's or something like that. Basically, that's why I say the Spirit, that, Spirit, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And then I just basically just let the chips fall where they may, and here I am right now, just delivering this talk. Demonstration after demonstration, you too are capable of. Principle is not bound by precedent. So where do we go from here? And I said we were going to, do unity principle number 5. It's not enough to know these principles. We have to act. Well, one of the things that we're dealing with now that is starting to divide us now is ideas. People are beginning to believe that if you don't think the way that they think, then we got a problem. And people are now beginning to shepherd themselves off and separate themselves off, in accordance to the ideas that they hold, whether those ideas are political ideas, whether those ideas are just basically just ideas. And politics is definitely something that this is what we are going to send for some healing energy. First of all, ideas are just building blocks. That's all they are. They're not end all be all of themselves. They're not just like the end all truth. They are your truth, and they're meant to have adequate representation from you. Okay? So you're meant to share it. But you're not meant to subjugate other people to it. You're not meant to, try to force your ideas upon someone else. Okay? Share your ideas. Okay? And you're going to come across some people who don't have that same idea, don't have that same view. That's a good thing. Okay? So I want you to think about ideas like raw materials, like you got wood and stone and concrete and steel and brick. Now, can you imagine if you're trying to build something, but your brick ideas they don't want to consort with the steel ideas, and your stone ideas they don't have anything to do with the concrete ideas. Can you imagine if your ideas were like that? Nothing would get built. And that's exactly what's happening. Ideas are not meant to divide us, okay? There is nothing more important than a human being. Now, separation consciousness, again, keep in mind, we don't see the value of a human being when we don't see the value in ourselves. We don't see the value in other people if we don't see the value in ourselves. That's why it's so important to see the value in ourselves, so that we can begin to see the value in others and begin to listen to what they have to say. Doesn't mean you have to change your mind. Listen to what they have to say, because this is the next challenge that our generation is going to face. As far as on the political front, it's basically generally about ideas. Now, do we want to be known as the generation that just basically pointed the finger at other people? The reason why it's their fault. Do we want to be known as that kind of generation? No. No, we all have an obligation to raise that energy, to raise that field of energy, to continuously do our part. And the way we initially do our part is by working on us. Then we can come from a more whole aspect, holistic perception, and begin to see other ideas that do not encompass our own, so that we can then combine ideas and connect ideas and build from new ideas that we would not have had it not been just if we just focused on this one idea that we had. Now that we're encompassing this other idea, and now they're interlocking and connected, now there's a new idea that now begins to spring forth because of us bringing these lower ideas as far as resources and building something new. That's what ideas are meant for. So what I'd like to do is take a moment and send love to our brothers and sisters in this world. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like everyone to take a moment and send love to our brothers and sisters in the world. Not our judgment. And as a matter of fact, the good place to start is somebody that you disagree with. Somebody that, for whatever reason you have a problem with. I can guarantee you there is a corresponding part of your mind that you're not noticing right now. And this person is a representation of that. And the healing that will come is the healing that will come not only with, you sending positive energy, but you will also be subsequently healing a part of your mind that you don't really know that it's just finding representation. It's just finding a scapegoat. That's all it's doing. So let's just take a moment and do that. Unity principle number 5 is not good enough to know these principles. We must act. We must live the truth we know. So let us live this truth. Let us send that love to our brothers and sisters, especially the ones we disagree with. And I would also invite you to include in that conversation our politicians, our leaders. It doesn't matter how you vote. That's not important. That's not important how you vote. It's not an easy job being a politician. No matter what you do, no matter how whatever legislation you approve, there's somebody that can't stand you because of it. Maybe somebody does like you, but there's somebody else that can't stand you. I wouldn't want to do that. Would you want to do that? So it's not an easy job is the point I'm trying to make. So let's send love to our leaders. They're the ones that are bringing forth legislation and things like that. So at least let them come from their right mind. Let us send that love to them. Let us see them in the highest and see them raising their energy. Let's see them and affirm that they're people too. And that they want to do good and that they want to do a service for the people. Whatever that service is, however it is. We're not looking at any particular form of it. This is not about politics. And as a matter of fact, if you really want to grow, I would invite you to support the politicians that you disagree with. Support them. It's easy to support the ones that you agree with. Support the ones that you don't agree with. Send love to them. So however you vote, send love to the other side. That is a reparative energy. That's a healing energy. I can guarantee you there's a corresponding part in your mind, in your own mind, that you're not seeing because you got a representation out in the external world that correlates with this and that you can't stand this part of your mind as well. Heal it, and there's a subsequent healing that will happen in your own mind. Now I'm going to go here and read a quote. In closing, relying on the maxim that principle is not bound by precedent, we should not limit our expectations of the future. And if our speculations lead us to the conclusion that we have reached a point where we are not only able, but also required by the law of our own being to take a more active part in our personal evolution than theretofore, this discovery will afford us a new outlook upon life and widen our horizon with fresh interest and brightening hopes. So, brothers and sisters, in recognition of Black History Month and the greatness of all people, we got work to do. This is 2023. Let freedom ring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Very inspiring. May we bless our offering. Divine love flow through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love flow through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. It is so. Amen. Well, I guess everybody in here knows what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, huh? What's happening? Mardi Gras, where are the parades? Right there. Can we get here? No. But church goes on. So Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, church will be sent to you. Stephen will send it next Sunday at 11, and I'll send it the following Sunday at 11. So we won't miss a beat, but it won't happen here. So just remember, the next 2 Sundays, we can't get to this church. So church services will be at your home. After church today, what's happening? High tea. Wonderful, beautiful. Jeanette Bell has been doing this for years, and we haven't been able to have it because of COVID. So go move back there and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful high tea time. Will you please stand for our closing? The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and you are safe and secure. The Lord watches between me and thee while we are absent one from the other, and helps us to know that we are all one in spirit through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Will you form a circle and we'll sing our peace song?
Hey, Anthony, Mike, you called earlier? Yes. I'm at work at church. Not a problem. No problem. No problem. Bye-bye.